Welcome, innovators and game changers, to Compete on Awesome with AI, your roadmap to harnessing AI power in your business journey. Imagine waking up tomorrow to find your industry completely transformed by AI. Exciting? Terrifying? Maybe both. But here's the thing, you don't have to navigate it alone. I'm Susan Fru, an entrepreneur and business owner just like you, and I'm here to be your tour guide through the world of practical, usable AI. Having built and scaled many businesses myself and saved $170,000 and counting from my budget for 2024, I know firsthand the challenges you're facing and the game-changing potential for AI that holds for all of us. In these episodes, you will join us as we explore AI tools you can implement today and boost your efficiency, how to stay ahead of the AI curve without breaking the bank. And we're not here to talk about science fiction fantasies. We're here for real, actionable strategies that you can use to compete and win in this AI-driven world today. So join us, whether you're a solopreneur working from the kitchen table or a CEO leading a team of hundreds. This is your guide to not just surviving, but thriving in the AI revolution. If you're ready to turn AI from a buzzword into your secret weapon, let's dive in and compete on awesome. Hello, and welcome to Compete on Awesome with AI. My name is Susan Fru, AI innovator and power user, and I am delighted to bring with me today Jim Harris, who is an AI thought leader worldwide. Reach. He's an amazing speaker, consultant, a mentor of mine in the AI space. So I'm so delighted to have him on here. So welcome, Jim.
Great to be on, Susan.
Jim, could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? I really like when people can introduce themselves and tell us what you want us to know about you and about your role in AI right now.
Sure. I began as a journalist and wrote a book called The 100 Best Companies to Work For in Canada 35 years ago. And that started me, it launched me onto the speaking circuit. And then I represented Stephen Covey teaching the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of only 12 people who could publicly teach it in the country. And brought out my second and my third book. My third book focused on disruption, disruptive innovation. And that's been the primary topic throughout my career. And back in 1997, I began talking about AI when IBM's Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov in chess. It shocked the world. Nobody thought that was possible, especially the chess world. But that was a $100 million project. So none of my clients were interested in talking about AI in 97 because you had to have very deep pockets and be able to have AI data scientists on staff afford that. Mm-hmm. So it really wasn't within the reach of companies. But on November 30th, 2022, AI got democratized. Anybody could now use AI for free. And that, ChatGPT attracted 100 million users in just 60 days, the fastest adopted technology in the world's history. And so when we talk about AI today, naturally people think about ChatGPT, but that is so 2022, Susan. There are now more than 70,000 AIs for business. And one of the challenges is that business leaders get overwhelmed. Where do I start? I don't know what I don't know. And so we are 100% focused on AI in strategic advantage. Mm-hmm. I do keynotes. We do training, you know that because you're working with us with one of our clients. Very delighted to do that. I see this as the biggest revolution in my business career. The web was very exciting in 93 with the birth of the web. And back then I was saying to my clients, this is going to change everything. And they were looking at me like I had two heads or something. So this is going to be a bigger revolution than the web was. It's going to be a faster adoption curve than the web was. And it's going to be the most transformative technology in my time. So I am super excited about this.
Me too. And I heard some things in there that I want to unpack a little bit. I think it will be really helpful for our audience. You were saying that business owners are feeling overwhelmed, and there's just so much coming at them with 70,000 different AIs. They're like, what do I do? What do I use? And I like to say you need to go old school before you go new school. And by old school, I mean you need to process map your organization and understand where there's snags, gaps, problems, what have you, that we can put an AI resolution in there. And that's the way I've been approaching it. And I think that you do the same thing. Like, it's that big evaluation stage. Like, where exactly are you going to use the AI, instead of like slapping it in there and not understanding the use case, and then you're going to get really dismal results.
Absolutely. Like, we need to engage in transformation, not for the purpose of transformation itself, but to have better outcomes. So faster cycle times, better customer service, less drudgery work for employees and associates. What is the purpose of it? A colleague of mine who's called Don Tapscott, who was an early focus, who really focused on blockchain and cryptocurrencies, has a saying about paving the cow path. Don't pave the cow path. Like, cows have wandered this bizarre route for whatever reasons, and progress is not paving that cow path. It's coming and standing back and saying, how, if we were to build our organization from a blank, sheet of paper, would we design it today? And I'll give you one example. I work with a lot of CEOs, and I was with I don't know, have you seen the new show Landman with Billy Bob Thornton?
Yeah,
Oh my
I have.
God. What a great actor. Oh my God.
I know, he really is.
For those out in podcast land listening to this, don't watch it. It's addictive. You'll have to watch the whole series. But I was working with some CEOs, and one of the CEOs was in land management. She assembles large parcels of lands for clients. So she had to assemble a 300-person owner piece of land. So the way she historically would have done it was with an 80-hour spreadsheet, row one, name of first owner, survey of their property, year they purchased it, what they paid for it, goes on and on and on and on for, humongous 80 hours of work. Well, with a very good prompt, she pointed it at 2 government websites, and that 80 hours of work was done in 5 seconds. So my question is, what is that as a productivity improvement? It's near infinite. And now she is freed up to do more valuable work. So one of the least discussed aspects of AI is cycle times. Saving 80 hours of time is mind-boggling. So there are so many different ways that AI can add value for us, but this is just one of them, and one that's not discussed much.
I worked with a group of CEOs all day yesterday. I'm on site here actually at a conference, and they have all different types of businesses, all types of different business challenges. And I had them work at their tables to like come up with their like top 1 or 2 problems. And they're like, well, then what? I'm like, let's just get to the problem first, and then we'll talk about solving it. And it's interesting. You can ask the AI to tell you which AI to use to solve your problem. And that's exactly what we did. So we got everything out on flip chart markers, very, very basic, and put them all around the room. We took pictures of them, loaded it into the AI, it evaluated them, and before the session was over, everyone had a report in their inbox of which AIs they should use to solve their specific problem. And we went through like, how do you design that use case? And I love what you said about, all that the time that's being saved, but it also almost like a mental health challenge too, right? So you don't have to do all those horrible things that you did not like doing, and you get to be in your best and greatest genius all the time. I mean, I think that is the big aha and the big enlightening moment of this revolution right now.
It is. What you were talking about is what I call meta learning and meta prompting. Use tools, AI tools, to learn how to use AI tools. So yesterday, I can't remember which one, but a client was saying to me, like, how do I use a notebook LM? And, the old saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but teach him how
Hmm.
to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Is I said, look, go to ChatGPT, whichever one you're using, 4.0, it really doesn't matter, and say, how do I use Notebook LM? Give me a
Hmm.
step-by-step process and give me some use cases as to why I might use Notebook LM. And it will actually give it to you. Now, I want to give you a very strange use case. Out in the oil fields, I'm going to be in Texas next week. But in the oil fields, it's really tough to get a rig hand to listen to read a new safety manual. So I can take a 6-page new safety manual and feed it into Notebook LM and create a podcast with two voices, a male and female, that are debating the interesting points of safety in the oil field. And no rig hand will read a 6-page new manual, but they'll listen to it in their truck driving to the rig. Okay. So, like, here is a bizarre use case because you think I'm in oil and gas. There's no way
Hmm.
that AI can help us. Well, actually, yes, there is if you are creative.
That's interesting because that was a use case that we talked about yesterday. And I'm just going to share my screen really quick for a second because you have to see this. So, I've been sort of talking about the work trend report from Microsoft. So I put it into Notebook LM. And I did that last night, and I put it in here so I would have the podcast and the study guide and the briefing doc, and something new that Notebook LM just rolled out. First, last night, you can get on the waiting list to get it as an app, which is going to be really cool. But they rolled out the mind map feature on it, which is phenomenal. So if you're an organization that is, planning your strategic plan for the rest of the year, you can put all the information you want, all the PDF documents, all the things in there, and it will transform it to whatever you need it to transform it to. And that mind map for executive teams is going to be a game changer because now we're only talking about the really important things.
So this is interesting. That I think about AI in terms of a hierarchy of use cases, or think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And at the
Mm-hmm.
base is productivity. That's where most of the focus goes
Mm-hmm.
in discussions around AI. That's like the use case that we mentioned here today of a CEO saving 80 hours on a massive spreadsheet. So
Mm-hmm.
productivity, there is nothing wrong with that. That's amazing. That's infinite productivity increase. But when you move up the ladder or up the triangle, the next level is creation. So creation of images and videos and texts and books.
Hmm.
The next highest level is predictive, so that I can predict when things are going to happen. And there's a concept called predictive maintenance. I was invited to the launch of a 300-kilometer-an-hour train in Rome by Train Italia, and they'd installed 1,000 points of presence on different pieces of equipment on that high-speed train. And they're Wi-Fi enabled, and they measure the operating parameters of each component. And so when the brakes in car 4A begin vibrating, it sends the data back, and then they analyze it based against historic data, and the AI predicts this brake is going to fail within 2 weeks. So rather than wait until it fails and
Hmm.
paralyzes the entire train schedule, they replace the brakes that night. It's called predictive maintenance. So
Yeah.
here we're using AI for predictive maintenance. So think about buildings, predictive maintenance for buildings, or how to operate buildings so that they're just the right temperature, but use a
Hmm.
fraction of the energy. Lowering costs with predictive analytic AI tools. But finally, at the top of the pyramid is strategy. And this is where people are least focused at the moment, but where it has the greatest value for. So the photographs that you took, for instance, um, and then had the AI predict which of the 70,000 tools would be beneficial for executives to use. Boom. And I always like choice. I like,
Hmm.
and I have a particular methodology. So my methodology is multi-step. So first I say, which AI is, well, even to your point, even before you sign it, jump in, let's create a hierarchy of what's
Hmm.
going to give us the most value with the
Hmm.
least cost, the shortest implementation cycle. Um, and even before that, I think we have to engage employees, because the CEO
Hmm.
can't do AI on his or her own. Really, it's how do we engage people and get them excited about this so they implement it in all their departments and all their daily work.
I want to just pause there for a second because I want to add a comment to that. So, we've worked on some with some clients together, and I have some clients on my own consulting, and you have some on your own consulting. And there are some employees, though, in those groups that really need the reassurances that their job is not going to be taken away, or they're not going to be able to get on with the program. But the reality is this, is that you do not want your company that you work for to be lapped by a competitor who's using AI and you are being resistant, because then everyone is going to lose. So if you are an employee listening to this, I understand your concerns. I have empathy for the fact that you feel your job could be in jeopardy. However, I would get out in front of it and get as educated and as reskilled and retooled as you possibly can. And then you're going to become incredibly valuable to the leadership of your organization. So don't be putting the brakes on the progress, because it's really not it's not going to help you in the long run, right?
So there's a concept called psychological safety, and if people don't feel safe, they don't learn very well. If you're governed by fear, you're not open to new things at all. And so I think one of the most important things that leaders can do is create psychological safety for people. And two, I have a bias. I used to represent Stephen Covey, as I mentioned, teaching Seven Habits. Stephen had a
Mm-hmm.
bias that you really have to train every single person in the Seven Habits. Why? Because it creates a common language, a common
Mm.
framework. It changes the culture itself of the organization. And we really need organizational transformation at the culture level, at the people level, at the training level. And so this isn't so much a story about technology, it's a story about people and organizations. I'll give you a great example. During the pandemic, 100,000 nurses quit the healthcare profession in the US. You know, we saw huge numbers of early retirements, the highest ever. So, you know, a nurse would be 60, 62, would say, I don't need this. You know, like they were working double and triple
Yeah,
shifts. They were
right.
burned out. They were tired. I saw stories about doctors who were living in tents in their garage because they were fearful about infecting their
Mm.
families. You know, so we saw 100,000 nurses leave. And you can't, to this day, there are 2 million job openings in the US healthcare system. You just can't get people. And
Yeah.
so one jurisdiction decided to do something about it, Providence Health. They tried everything. They could not get enough nurses. So they studied the job of nursing, and they found that 30 to 40% of the job of a nurse was charting, writing on a clipboard, keyboarding, or sticking a thermometer in the patient's mouth. Now, Susan, they stick thermometers other places in the patients, but we are not talking about that on this podcast.
That's right.
That's
We are
no talking
G-rated.
about that.
We are G-rated here.
G-rated. So what they did is they deconstructed the job of nurse, and they took that 30 to 40% of activities they were doing and reassigned them to admin people who didn't need years of medical training to do them. And surprise, surprise, their nursing shortage went away. So this isn't a story about the technology. It's a story about transformation. It's a story about culture. It's a story about people. It's a story about training. It's a story about engaging, because they had to engage the union. So we can do this. So this isn't taking this analogy, this story about Providence Health and applying it to AI. It's not about the technology. The technology is super far advanced. It's the people part that's hard. How do we engage our people? How do we help them by creating psychological safety? And then how do we train every single person so they know how to use this, why to use this?
You know, it's fascinating for you. So you speak about disruption. Your book's called Disruption. I had a CEO tell me, I don't, I understand that we're going through disruption, but I don't want derailment. And I think that was funny, but it was really true, right? Like he's like, you know, I want to implement this project, but I don't want everyone just stopping what they're doing right now that's keeping this company going to, you know, just step aside and learn some new things. And that's why I think, you know, it needs to be spoon fed a little bit at a time into each department. As you say, like every single employee on the roster needs to get engaged here and understand how their contribution to this is helping everyone, right? And
Yes,
they can get rid of the things they hate doing.
people learn at different speeds. People have every person has a different appetite for discomfort. What's really happening is I'll often do this exercise with audiences where I ask them to write their name as fast as they can 3 times with a pen and a piece of paper. And then I ask them to switch hands with the pen and as quickly as they can write their name 3 times. And man, it takes them 3 times as long. There's a lot of, I ask people, how are they? And would they be willing to do this all day the next day? And our reactions to being pushed into our uncomfort zone are always negative. So when I'm learning a new skill, rejigging a process in our organization, there are going to be problems. So we actually, have to have Sherpas who guide our people through. And that's why I believe that mentoring or coaching or one-on-ones or AMAs, which are Ask Me Anythings, are absolutely essential in between pieces to the training. We have to, guide and help people through this uncomfortable journey of new learning, whether it's AI, which is what you and I are focused on, or any other
Mm-hmm.
form of digital or organizational transformation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we are seeing that, all across the board, in every single industry. And I was speaking to someone yesterday, their son is going to school to be a radiologist. And I said, fantastic, because AI is going to help solve the shortage of radiologists, and he's going to have a much better experience than someone who became a radiologist 20 years ago, because now it's going to be like really just focused on the patient, because it's going to be assistant. It's an augmented product, and it's going to be so much better for the world, that type of technology, using that.
Every year, Leanne and I go to something called NextMed. It's put on by Daniel Kraft. I go to 60 conferences a year, and I have the most fun at this one. It's what is the future of medicine? And this year at it, there was a Dr. Andrew Chang who was talking in a pre-conference seminar that we were at, and he was saying, right now, uh, hospital can get sued for not having the best practice.
Mm-hmm.
And in the future, they're going to get sued for not using AI, because an
Wow.
AI, can spot something faster. Like
Yeah.
if you have a brain bleed after, a medical incident, it might take the radiologist or the CT scanner technician an hour to get to reading yours because there's a backlog. The AI can read that
Mm-hmm.
instantly and say, we have a problem right now, and
Mm-hmm.
deal with it. So hospitals in the future are going to get sued for not using AI. Now, this is a total inversion of
Yeah.
what the current practice is. So we're going to have to get busy, and the medical profession is going to have to get busy, because my general practitioner, my doctor, family doctor, did not read the 7,000 peer-reviewed papers that were published this morning before consulting
Mm-hmm.
me, right? So I
Yeah,
want
exactly.
AI and my doctor. I don't want just an AI. I want AI and a doctor. And anything that the AI can do just as well, like 100% match on what a CT or radiologist can do, let's now repurpose that, just as in
Mm-hmm.
the case of the nurses doing admin work. How do we repurpose the healthcare system? Because there are 2 million job openings. And anything AI can do just as well with high quality, let's assign it to that and repurpose people in the medical profession.
I like to say humanize the exception and automate the routine, because that is when you get to real freedom in your job, and job satisfaction, and that you're not stuck doing something that you dislike doing, or not doing it like we were talking about with the doctors, because it will be more accurate if the AI is reading it. It's more predictable. So I want to just change topics here for a bit. What do you see for the rest of 2025? And just, this is May 2nd of 2025 that we are recording this, so put a timestamp on it. What do you see that is coming for the rest of this year, and how we can be prepared for that? And any other commentary on what you see for the future that we need to start gearing up for, and reskilling and retraining?
Well, one of I just interviewed Jeffrey Hinton, who's often called the godfather of AI. He just won the
Mm-hmm.
Nobel Prize in 2024. So I interviewed him 2 weeks ago. And I also interviewed the CPO, the Chief Product Officer of OpenAI. So Kevin Weil is the CPO at
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI. And what he's most excited about is kids who have a personalized AI tutor can have 2 orders of magnitude better learning outcomes, faster learning. Now, what does that mean? That's a 10x times 10x. That's 100x better outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's first off dig into it to understand. A CEO I know, his son does what I call stacking. So he orders all his lectures with his
Mm-hmm.
profs. And Otter, for those who don't know, is real-time transcription. There are other systems like Fireflies or Fathom or
Mm-hmm.
Real.ai. There's a whole bunch of them. But basically, it takes everything that's said, like in this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, and gives you a real-time transcript at the end of the podcast. Boom, there we go. There's also some hardware like Plod that will do this for you.
Yeah.
But back to the point, this kid orders all his lectures. And then if there's something he doesn't understand, he copies that part of the transcript and pastes it into ChatGPT and says, explain this concept to me as though I'm 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it really takes it from first principles basics, and you go, oh, okay, I get that. Now explain it to me like I'm a 15-year-old and it's more complex. Now a 21-year-old. Now give me some learning exercises. So a couple things. One, this is the principle we've already talked about, meta, using the
Mm-hmm.
tool to learn how to use tools. One.
Mm-hmm.
Two, this is something I call stacking. We're taking one AI, Otter, and stacking on top of it ChatGPT or any other LLM. So
Mm-hmm.
how can we stack these tools? I then want to go back to one other principle that's great in this example. When I'm working with a client and they're like, I'm overwhelmed. Should I use Otter, Fireflies, Fathom, Real.ai? Like, where is it? I say, look, let's slow down here a bit.
Yes.
Otter is the market share leader, okay? Otter is transcribing 1 million words every single minute globally. So why don't we start with Otter? Number one, start with the market share leader. Number two, they have a freemium model. You get to use Otter for 600 minutes of transcription before you have
Mm-hmm.
to decide if you want to use it. Okay, so use it for 600 minutes. That's 10 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Then three, subscribe to the monthly amount, which is $20 a month. And after 3 months of using it, if you've found it of benefit, then subscribe to the annual, which gives you a further discount of 20%. So don't go buy the annual thing out of the gate and then not use it. Do you know that I know clients who've signed up for a Copilot license for everyone in the organization at $40 a month, but only 20% of people are using it? Don't do that. you know, uh,
Well, Google LM and Google Studio, you can put up to in probably even more 600 pages of information in it for free, completely for free. So I hear you on that. Like, don't be wasting your money on these subscriptions unless you're actually going to actively use them.
and then the
Yeah.
next little tweak, so only subscribe on an annual basis
Mm-hmm.
once you've had 3 months of paid use. Now, some people say, oh, well, $20 a month for subscription or for transcription, that's outrageous. I used to have an EA, her name was Heather, and she'd come with me to my consulting meetings with clients, and she'd be taking minutes. 5 hour management meeting, and then 3 hours for the rest of the day cleaning it up and emailing the minutes to
Yeah.
people. She was on $40,000 a year. This is $20 a month. That's a
I know.
99.5% savings. So what are you doing complaining that it's $20 a month? Are you crazy?
You get a PhD level assistant for $240 a year, and
Like,
you are
give me
not
a
willing to
break.
do it. Like, please.
So then there's another little twist at the end of this chain. I say, okay, share that login between two people or a team. So you have one login for Otter, but you're using it strategically, and 3 people or 4 people in a team are using it, which means your cost is only 1/4 of $20 a month. So don't let SaaS monthly billings creep up on you. Be
Yeah.
strategic around it. My thought as to why to settle on the market share leader, like Otter in this case, is because my theory is they're going to have the best revenue and they're going to be continually investing in new product features and product sets. So for the future, they're going to be aggressive.
So if I'm a CEO right now, and I am a CEO, but and I, really want to implement AI in my company. I don't know what to do. My client, my customers, and my competitors are going to lap me here soon, and I don't know exactly what to do. What's step one? Do we have you come in and do the evaluation? What does that look like?
Well, I believe we need to start with what I call a wake session, a shock and awe
Okay.
session. So
Okay.
it's anywhere from 1 hour to a full day to 2 days, which is
Okay.
let's really open people's eyes up to what AI can actually do. And at the end of that, and I have a video I recorded with a partner of mine, a bureau I work with that has done 1.1 million views on YouTube. It's called the AI Revolution. I'll send you a link and it
Yeah.
can be in the notes to this podcast. But
Perfect.
when people see the breadth of applications that AI has, they're blown away. They say, I had no idea. I thought it was just ChatGPT. I've heard about this
Mhm.
ChatGPT. I haven't used it. I had no idea it could do these things. So the first thing is for the leadership of the company to be aware,
Mhm.
number one, and all the people, and to why it's important to do this. Then I believe we need to train every single person in AI, not just for the positives, but also for the negatives to
Yeah.
mitigate risk. So there's a great story way back about the makers of smartphones, Samsung. Their engineers put their secret proprietary code into the public version of ChatGPT to say, can you tune the code? And so let's go back. One of the biggest applications for AI is writing computer code. Like an LLM is a large language model,
Right.
and Python is just a language. It's a computer language, but it's a
Yep.
language. C++, C. So one of the radically fastest adopted use cases is around programming. So
Yeah. If
um,
you don't go to school for coding right now, I don't know. I don't think that's a good bet on your future.
no. So AI is already writing 20 to 30% of the code at Microsoft right now.
Yes. And
And
Meta's saying the same thing.
then you have AIs that were reviewing the code of written by the AI. Now we still have people, but in a very short order, we're going to have the majority of code globally written by AI. We'll still have people coding, but early on, Samsung's engineers stuck their secret proprietary code for the operating system, their operating system, into ChatGPT to tune it. And it tuned it. Oh, yeah, it tuned it. But in the process, they released into the wild their secret proprietary code for everyone else to be able to learn on it. So, um, uh, my wife, Leanne, has a saying like, on the paper, like you're training a puppy, bad puppy, on the paper. Like bad engineer, on the paper. But it wasn't really the fault of the engineers. It was the fault of leadership at Samsung because they had not trained everyone to
Hmm.
know what are the terms of use of any single AI you're going to use. And there are settings, supposedly, who knows on the back end what gets seen, but there are settings you can turn to say, don't train on my data. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. But DeepSeek, if you put your designs into DeepSeek, which is an open source
Bye-bye.
AI from China,
Bye-bye.
how do we know that they're not going to be popping up at some Chinese manufacturing firm that is going to do the same designs now? So
Cheaper, a lot
cheaper,
cheaper.
yes. So
Yeah.
although there'll be tariffs on them, but the point of this is that
Hey, we agreed we weren't going to say
we weren't
that
going to
word.
say the T word. But the point of what I'm trying to get at is people need to know what are the terms of use of every single AI product or service that they use. And don't blame the people if you haven't done the training. So every organization needs to train every single person. So this is the biggest training revolution at the World Economic Forum this year. I go every year to WEF in Davos. The jobs report said that 39% of the average global worker's skill set is no longer relevant by 2030.
Mm-hmm.
39%, which means we need an industrial scale
Mm-hmm.
upskilling that says
Yes.
61% of your current skill set is still valid, 39 isn't. We're going to upskill you. But, if I used to scythe wheat by hand, right, as a farmer, 0% of my skill set is relevant unless I'm a Mennonite, a Hutterite, or a Amish, right? So for the Amish, they're fine, and the Mennonites. But for everyone else who used to scythe wheat, we're going to have to completely reskill. So
It,
upskilling and reskilling are huge.
well, something I want to point out there on that is I would highly recommend that you do not, for people listening, get training that's already in the can and you're going to buy a series of videos, because I will tell you that that is not going to be effective, because the AIs change so quickly. Like Jim and I both, and I know this because I know him, we spend hours learning new things and going to conferences and gathering information and synthesizing all of this to bring to our clients. If you just buy an in the can training program for your team, it's going to be outdated by the time you organize the conference room schedule. I promise you that, right? It needs to be real time, and it needs to be with real experts that are going to help you and transition you through this next stage of your business growth.
And there are all sorts of government programs. I'm in Canada, Susan, you're in the US, but there are all sorts of government programs to help businesses, particularly SMEs, uh,
Mm-hmm.
retool, retrain, engage with their people. And so work with a partner who has experience in accessing these. I've worked with different programs where my clients get thousands of dollars back for the training that they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's really remarkable. And even if you just start following people on X and you see how fast things are changing on a regular basis. If you follow Ethan Mollick, do you follow him on? Okay, I follow him on X. So Ethan Mollick is a professor who is, very well known in AI circles. I believe that he is probably a vampire because he is tweeting all night and day. And I also believe that probably some universities have the Ethan Mollick drinking game. Every time he tweets, you get to drink because it is just nonstop all day. And I learned a lot. I'll dig into more than half of it, but those are the kind of things where you need to be up on it, and it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be live, and you need to rely on people like myself and Jim to guide you through it. Like we'll be your tour guides. And yeah, that's what we do. We synthesize the information for you so that you have the ability to make a plan, get your team ready, compete on Awesome with AI, and do not let your competitors lap you in this season of business. You've worked too hard to get where you are. Now we need to and I will say one other thing. This is like riding a bicycle up the hill. for a while, because you need to like put in the work and get to the top, and then we will start seeing the valley below, and it's going to be beautiful. But you have got to commit to doing that upfront work with you and all of your employees, or the transformation is not going to happen. We also very strongly believe in an AI committee in your organization. There needs to be a group of people that are going to meet regularly, and I mean weekly, to start pushing that ball down the field, and then working with experts to help you push that plan, because otherwise it's just shelf help.
Yeah, around this, I want to throw out a methodology. I believe it's important to start with projects that are going to be easy to implement, so
Mhm.
people get a sense of mastery and completion. Easy to implement, low cost, and low change to the organization's existing processes. So in other words, don't start with a project that's so complex, like boiling the ocean, because it's going to be 5 years later, people will have completely lost interest and you won't have seen any benefit. So start with quick wins, easy to do
Mhm.
quick wins that get people on, both on the AI committee and the wider population of your employees, excited about this. And then have a tranche two, like a second batch, once your initial training of 12 weeks is finished and you've got ROI. Then more complex, so ones that might take 6 months to implement as opposed to 3 months. But again, it's not multi-year projects yet. There is so much value in wasted time and efforts in organizations. Really focus on that. And then once you've done 2 rounds of projects, then you can get into year-long transformations, because
Mhm.
you've built up the muscle set
Mhm.
of the employees for going into that discomfort and for learning. So, and they get more and more motivated as they go through and see these wins. And then you have to communicate. You have to celebrate
Mhm.
from the mountaintops each and every single win that
Mhm.
you get in this. So it's not just about training, it's about social change.
I we're like proud parents too when our clients like have this big breakthrough. We're like, "Yay, we're so happy for you!" And it really is. It's a lot of fun, and let's keep it that way. Let's keep it light, keep it fun. Use the positive. There are negatives, and you need to be mindful, just like anything. Trust but verify. Ever more than now, you need to not just take someone's word for it. And it used to say, "Believe what you." Don't believe what you hear, believe what you see. But now believing what you see could be AI as well. And there's really no guardrails on that as of yet.
Well, that's a very good point. We've been talking all about the benefits of AI, but there are bad actors in the world who are using
Mhm.
AI tools for nefarious reasons. So, for instance, I was
Mhm.
on a TV show with 3 other experts, all on AI, and the host is a very public person. There's a lot of video on the TV channel's site and on YouTube of her interviewing people. Somebody had taken an AI and trained it on her voice, and her family got a phone call that went something like this. I'm in the hospital. I rolled the SUV and it's burning. And thankfully, I'm okay, but my wallet is in the car burning. I have no money. I'm starving. I need some money to go to the cafeteria. Can you send $200 to nursebetty@gmail.com so that I can go get something to eat? Now, in her family, they have a safe word, and I'm going to make it up,
Safe word. Mhm.
jalapeno peppers. If I don't say jalapeno peppers in the conversation, it's not me. So
Mhm.
my question to everyone listening to the podcast is, do you have a safe word that your family uses, especially the grandparents, right? They're the ones who are subject to the most fraud? Secondly, have you done this kind of training in your organization? So phishing attacks, ransomware are getting more intelligent because these AI tools are powerful, which means everyone in a company needs AI training around cybersecurity. How do we identify cyber threats? What are the signs? And we don't have time to go into it, but so this training is for the positive and for how do we mitigate risk on the negative side.
Absolutely. And that's really just going to continue, because, just like anything, there's bad actors in whatever vocation or lane that you're in. Jim, thank you so much for joining me on this show. We're just getting started here at Compete on Awesome with AI, but it is such an amazing time in our history, in our world's history, all the excitement that is happening. I am delighted. You are delighted. We're like geeking out completely. Tell people how they can reach you. And, if they want to talk to you about consulting, they want to hire you as a speaker, just follow you on socials. Give us all your deets and we'll make sure they're in the show notes as well.
So in the show notes, you'll have, I'm on X, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube. I'll post that video I shot with a partner 5 months ago that's broken 1.1 million views on YouTube. But the video is so 5 months ago,
See?
So I'm always recording new material, but I speak at conferences and seminars. We do training. We work with Susan around training. One of the great things the pandemic has done for us is get everybody used to teleconferencing. I studied and was doing teleconferencing when a Cisco system like telepresence was $70,000 per seat. Like now teleconferencing is basically free and we can do it from anywhere, from Virginia. At another event, we can be recording podcasts. So this is one of the great things because you can bring expertise to your team from anywhere in the world at any time. And so we have the best set of tools in the history of humanity at our fingertips to help us with this transformation. So I'd love to speak in person or virtually, train in person or virtually. We do what's called advisory. Advisory is important because a board of directors or a C-suite don't know what they don't know. So having a consultation advisory work at the board level is important. So we do advisory work. And then if you're a Gen Z, you don't want any training. You want a boot camp, like no training, boot camps only. So all of these things, that's what we do, as well as writing books and being on awesome, Compete on Awesome podcasts.
There we go. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Compete on Awesome with AI, your tour guides to learning all about artificial intelligence and how you can harness the power in your company. Until next time.